Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Shorty September, a BookTube event centered around shorter works, things that are fewer than 200 pages, fewer than 150 pages, something that you can get through fairly quickly, in my case, in one sitting, which is a little bit of an odd way to put it, since I read most books in one sitting. I do precious little other than sit and read, so the whole term one sitting takes on a rather elastic nature. But I love Shorty September. I've loved all month long chucking a shorter book onto the night's reading. That has always felt wonderful. And I did that last night with, I think, something that was a reread. I'm assuming it was a reread, but it never really rang a bell the whole time. And I don't know if that's just because I've never read it or because mystery novels tend not to ring bells. I've known mystery readers my whole life who couldn't tell until page 100 whether or not they had read the book they have in front of them, or sometimes not even then. And I've always scoffed at that and joked with them and said, well, I'm not like that. But last night I read Agatha Christie's 1940s novel, The Moving Finger, with this great cover artwork by a cover artist that I praise this cover artist all the time in these vintage paperbacks. I absolutely love this artwork. Several of you have told me over the years who this is. You'd think I'd remember the name, and I don't. I don't remember the name. But this is a great cover artist. That's, I'm pretty sure, the reason that I spent $1 on this book. And it's a Miss Marple mystery, and I loved it. I just loved it. And I didn't ever at any point really think that you have read this before. I had assumed I'd read all of Agatha Christie, but maybe not. The Moving Finger is not exactly an obscure novel of hers. I thought surely that at the very least I had read all of Miss Marple and all of Hercule Poirot. So maybe it just felt new to me because it's been a long, long time since I read it. And I've read a lot of murder mysteries since then, whenever it was, if there was. But either way, I was thoroughly engaged with this the whole time. It starts off very small and with a perfect kind of packed full of potential little detail that Christie is so good at. A man and a woman, a man and his sister, move to a small town, a very small village in England, Limestock. And they're no sooner settled in. He has been ordered by his doctor in London to go into the country and rest, to recuperate from an injury. I'm assuming a wartime injury. He says that he was injured while flying. I'm assuming that he's a member of the RAF and had an injury while flying and managed to live. I don't know, that part is understated all throughout the book, but they're no sooner situated. His sister goes with him to help him out, and they're no sooner situated in their little cottage, Little Furs, than they get an anonymous letter in the morning mail. We never get the text of the letter, but the letter roundly accuses the man of not being the brother of this woman, but of having an illicit mistress or whatnot. The two don't look anything alike. They admit that themselves. They don't look like brother and sister. And this anonymous letter says they're not wanted in the village, and that the whole village knows that they're setting up house together, but that they're lying about being brother and sister. The man destroys the thing. He destroys the note in the fire and thinks nothing more about it, except that, as his sister puts it, it's a little disappointing because we had met a lot of the people in town, the vicar and the doctor and the lawyer. We thought that they liked us. But obviously somebody doesn't like us. Because it had a local stamp on it. So it had a local postal mark. So it couldn't have come from London or anywhere else than that. And the man thinks no more of it until he talks to another villager, someone who comes to his door, who says that he's astonished because he also got an anonymous letter, an obnoxious, semi-threatening anonymous letter. And it turns out in very quick order that we learn that almost everyone in the village has got letters like this. So it isn't what the sister was originally thinking, that they got the letter because they are strangers, because they're newcomers. It's definitely not that, because everybody in town is getting them. And the thing about small village mysteries is that unless the writer is an absolute stinker, and Agatha Christie was not, in her novel, she was not an absolute stinker. She's not a particularly friendly writer in her mysteries. And I don't just mean that murders happen in them, but that's a subject for a long discourse some other time. But she's not a stinker. Unless the writer's an absolute stinker, the person is going to be someone in the village. It's not going to be somebody hiding in the hedges who's from Bangladesh. And we get introduced to all of these people. So in a small village thing like this, you're pretty sure from the first 2 chapters that you have met the person who's perpetrating this. And then there's a death. Someone who receives an anonymous letter seems to kill herself and leaves an ambiguous message behind, and that gets ups the stakes quite a bit and gets Miss Marple involved, trying to figure out what is going on here. Is there someone who's in all of these gathered scenes? The main people in the village gather together 5 or 6 times in the course of the novel. You know the whole time that the person who's writing these letters must be in those rooms. And that was well done. That was really, really well done. And the ending was really, really well done. Once again, as in so many Miss Marple mysteries, her insights, she's famous as a Christie character because she does not gain her detective acumen from forensic expertise or a police background or a wide knowledge of the world. She gains it all from the village of St. Mary Mead where she lives. She has been observing the people of St. Mary Mead for a long, long time and has determined from those observations why people do everything. That's what gives her insight. That's her little gimmick. But the thing that people who remember that gimmick often forget is that Miss Marple also has a large knowledge of witchy woman ways, folk ways, even biblical ways. She's always the person who remembers the apropos quote from literature, in this case, the Rubaiyat, the moving finger, or the Bible. She's always the one to do that. And always it adds an insight that moves the plot along. And she does that. She does her Miss Marple shtick. I worried a little about the title of the book because writers so often think they write a book like this under a working title. I have no idea what the working title of this book was, but I can guarantee you it wasn't The Moving Finger. And then when they're done with it, they sit and think about the book and come up with a title. Or an editor at their house reads the thing and comes up with a title, something that will be more evocative than Work in Progress number 5 or whatever. And the problem with doing that, not just for Agatha Christie, but also I know for a fact in 5 cases for Rex Stout with his Nero Wolfe mysteries, is that when you do that, you are looking in your mind at the whole story, complete with the ending, complete with the solution. You're looking at the whole story when you pick a title. And that can lead you to pick a title that accidentally gives away the story. And The Moving Finger, if you know the Rubaiyat, then it doesn't give away the story, it doesn't name anybody. But it directly points at where you're supposed to be. Directly. It points your suspicions in just the right quarter. I don't know if that would happen with a casual reader. I don't know if that would happen with someone who hasn't spent all of 2025 reading murder mysteries. I've spent we're going to call Mickey Spillane. We're going to call Nero Wolfe. We're going to call Lou Archer, who's my current obsession. We're going to call those murder mysteries, right? We certainly are. And I don't know if the tiny bit of foreshadowing in the title would be enough to tip off someone who hadn't been soaking himself in that kind of reading. But I really enjoyed it. It was different from other Miss Marple mysteries that I've read because Miss Marple is a very secondary character. It's the brother and sister and the other people in the village who are the main characters. And watching them interact, it was amazing to me how effortlessly Christie interests you in them. It's amazing. You've never met them before. You're never going to meet them again. No Agatha Christie story is ever going to go back to Limeford, or Limestock, or whatever it's called. They're not going to go back there. And yet she is so good at that, at making her cast of characters into people who you want to think about, you want to know about them. So this was, in this old paperback, this was 185 pages. And I loved it. Just flew right through it. So that's my report for Shorty September for last night. Last night was mostly given over to far heavier types of reading, so this was a treat. But anyway, that's it. I will come back to you next time, maybe with something shorter, 188 pages, 185 pages. over 150 feels excessive for Shorty September when there are so many books that are so much shorter than that. But I will pick at random from my shelf, so I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.